Hey friends, welcome back to another slow flow. This class is going to be slightly different in that we are working up into our middle splits. Now, as far as I'm aware, this is not a yoga asana, but it requires a lot of discipline, a lot of breathing. Physically, what this looks like is a lot of opening through our adductors, the inner of our legs. And compared to our Upavista Konasana, which is our seated, wide-legged fold, the knees are facing forward, so they're not externally rotated, which makes this quite intense. So yeah, let's get started in this class. It's going to be pretty slow as we work through a couple of asanas. Roll down the spine. Just find your way onto your back. Close down the eyes for a moment. Connecting with the breath. Now it is this breath that will allow us to feel comfortable, for us to kind of still our mind in these asanas that may feel a little bit more intense. So at any point, if you come into an asana where you can't breathe or you're really struggling to focus on the breath, then you've gone a little bit too far and we need to regress a little bit. It's important that we make sure we feel supported so we don't push ourselves or force ourselves into a position which our body is not ready for. Maybe you start to elongate the breath. So inhaling right down into the diaphragm, feeling the ribs press out to the sides and lift up and down. Letting go of any tension in the face and the jaw, eyebrows, eyelids. And we're going to move pretty soon, but as much as you can, bring your focus here. Maybe on your mat if you have one. We're going to find a happy baby to begin with. So maybe you just start by drawing the knees up into the chest, taking the hands around the shins and drawing them wide outside the ribs towards the mat. This might already feel quite intense. If you wanted a little bit more, maybe you walk the hands up towards the ankles, maybe towards the outsides of the feet. Just thinking about pulling the hands down on the feet, drawing the knees close towards the ground, while also pushing the feet back up towards the hands. And it's that kind of push and pull that will allow us to open through the adductors a little bit more, a little bit through the glutes. And we know that we may be a little bit too far in this pose is if the tailbone is curling up quite a bit and the shoulders are far off the ground. So if that's the case for you and you try pull them down and they're still not touching, maybe you just walk the hands down a little bit more, or maybe to the outsides of the feet. And if you want to add a little bit of movement here, maybe extending one leg, pulling back in, maybe the other leg extends out, go for it. Make this fluid, connect with the breath. Okay, you can absolutely stay in this happy baby. If you'd like to, start to extend the feet wide. The knees still might be bent here. Hands might come around the inner of the legs, just above the knee. You can also have the elbows on the ground and have the hands behind, underneath the legs. Maybe the hands are around the feet. Again, lower back towards the ground. And try not to force this pose too much. Just let gravity do its job here by letting the weight of the legs drop down a bit more. Another variation I like to have is peace fingers around the toes, maybe a little bounce up and down with the legs. Let's take about 3 more breaths here. And then when we're ready, bring the soles of the feet down towards the ground into a Supta Baddha Konasana. So feet are together, knees are wide. Now you can stay here or just gently tuck the ribs in, hips towards the ribs. See if you can press through the outsides of the feet to lift the hips off the ground to about 1 centimeter. Squeeze the glutes here. Try let the weight, the muscles around the hips to drop the knees down a little bit wider. Take 1 more big breath in, try to lift up a little bit more. Exhale, lower the hips down. Draw the knees towards the chest, give yourself a little squeeze. Neutral position. We'll find a gentle twist. So inhale, knees stack over the hips, maybe the hands come wide, palms down. Exhale, drop the knees over towards the right. Maybe even look down the left shoulder. Inhale, come through center. Exhale, drop the knees over towards the left. 1 more time each side. Inhale through center. If there's a different variation of twist you'd like to go into, go for it. Exhale. Last time, inhale. Exhale. Try come back through center. Let's grab the backs of the legs. Rock ourselves up. I'm going to cross over, just find our way onto our knees. Step 1, foot forward. So I'm going to start with the right foot forward. Walk the hands onto the insides of the right foot. Turn the left toes so they draw towards the right side of the mat. Now you can keep your hands down here, or if it feels good, can you breathe in, start to sweep the left hand high. Exhale, try reach over towards the front of the mat, even further off it. Press the right elbow, the right tricep into the leg to spin the heart open. You might even have the right elbow on the thigh for a bit more support. Can you drop the weight down into the hips? 2 more breaths. Ooh, feeling it already. You think about drawing the right knee towards the right side of the mat. And then when you're ready, left hand comes down. Walk your hands over to the left side of the mat. Turn the right toes forward. We're going to shift forward and back slightly. Trying to bring the whole of the right foot down. So outer edge of the right foot presses down. You might even tuck onto the left toes. Just have your left toes grounded for support. Aiming to keep the spine and the pelvis as neutral as we can. So if you notice you start to curl through the lower spine and the pelvis as you shift back, just try a little bit less. That's going to keep the intensity in the adductors. And then maybe you shift forward, and then as you shift back, you turn the right toes towards the sky. See if that changes things. Maybe you play with a couple more. And if this is feeling good, you might take the foot out a little bit further. You just keep wandering until you meet a level of intensity that feels good for you. Let's take about 2 more breaths. So lifting the toes is going to externally rotate through our hip joint a little bit more, compared to toes forward, which is a bit more of a neutral rotation. Let's come through center. We'll find a twist here. So breathe in, see if you can sweep the right hand high. And then as you exhale, can you twist the right hand towards the back of the mat, dropping the right shoulder towards the ground. This might feel quite intense, so feel free to back out of it or twist the other way. Pressing through the left hand to draw the left shoulder back. Big breath in. Exhale. Letting go of tension, making sure we connect with our breath. Walk the hands in, slide the right knee in, and then let's face towards the front of the mat again. Let's step our left foot forward this time. Taking it towards the edge of the mat slightly. Hands come down on the inside of the left leg. Drop the hips down towards the ground. Little shift from side to side, if that feels good. And then when you're ready, turn the right toes towards the left side of the mat. More than welcome to keep your hands down on the ground, or spread the left hand wide on the ground. Breathe in, reach your right hand high. And then as you exhale, take a little side bend. Reaching the right hand up and over the front of the mat, sliding the shoulder blades down the spine. Pressing the left shoulder into the leg back into the shoulder. Again, we've got that counter action. Can you drop the hips down towards the left heel a little bit more? So our femur bone is very externally rotated at the moment, which is going to open through the adductors a bit. Take a big breath in. Final breath out. Can you deepen? Hands come down. Let's walk the hands towards the right side of our mat this time. Maybe you wander the left foot up, keep the left foot down, and then start to shift the hips forward and back. Again, if you're feeling pretty good, if you're not really feeling this anywhere, see if you can shift the left toes a little bit further towards the side. At this point of time, let's just bring the whole of the left foot down. Try turn the left toes towards the side of the mat so they're not turning out towards the top corner. And what that's going to do is going to open down the left side of the ankle and shin. And then what you might do is you might start to play with turning up the left toes as you shift back and forward. So again, more of an external rotation here. Let's try 2 more breaths. And then when you're ready, come back through center. Maybe you bring the left toes down again. Breathe in, sweep the left hand high. And then as you exhale, can you twist the left hand towards the back of the mat, dropping the left shoulder down, twisting the right shoulder so it's as, and we try stack it on top of the left. Make sure you can breathe here. Big breath in. Exhale, maybe twist a little bit deeper. Find your way back through center. Slide the left knee in. I'm going to find a child's pose just for a moment. Shift the hips back over the heels. Start to walk your hands back towards your knees. So you're sitting up in a Vajrasana. Okay, we've done a lot of kind of opening through the inner of the legs. Now we're going to internally rotate just to counterbalance. So you might stay in your Vajrasana and lean back a little bit. Or take your feet a little bit wider than your hips. If it feels comfortable to do so, try sit down on the middle of the hips. And if it's not quite there yet, but you want it a little bit more, see if you can bring something underneath your hips. Maybe a pillow, maybe a bolster. If you want a little bit more, feel free to recline. So tucking the pelvis underneath, maybe coming down onto elbows. I'm not going to stay here for too long. This is just to counter letting go of any tension in the face, letting the breath keep hitting the, well, not hitting, but pressing down into the diaphragm, into the stomach. When you're ready, just start to walk yourself up. So we're going to make our way into a frog pose. So start to take the knees a little bit wider towards the edges of the mat. Now you can stay here, more of a wide-legged child's pose. You can, I might just do this on my mat. You can, if you wanted to, just keep spreading the knees out as wide as you can. Now the further you shift your hips forward, the less pressure you're going to have on the adductors and the inner of the legs. Just a heads up. Okay, if that felt okay, you wanted a little bit more, maybe the feet come out. This is our Bakasana frog pose. Flex the feet here, ankles land in line with the knees, trying to aim the hips in line with the knees as well. Now it's really important that we don't curve through our back too much here. So zip the belly button in, press away from the ground, find a bit more flexion of the spine so we don't dump all the weight into our pelvis. And then if it feels good, try shift forward and back slightly. Breathing into the moments where you may feel a bit more intensity. And if you feel like you've got a little bit more in you, try slide the knee out just a centimeter more. And then, if you wanted to give it a try, see what it feels like to press the knees down towards the ground. So really contracting through the inner of the legs. Take a big breath in. And then as you exhale, can you let go of that tension? Maybe you can soften into this stretch a bit more. This is called P&F stretching. So press the knees down, take a big breath in, feel that contract and the tension build. Exhale, soften. Slide the toes together, press through the elbows, slide the knees in. Maybe you find a more narrow child's pose for a moment. And for a lot of us, we just move forward and back. That's our only kind of plane of motion. Okay, and so when we ask ourselves to take the legs wider than kind of the forward and back, our bodies are like, whew, that's intense. And so if you're feeling that intensity right now, I'm here with you. Okay, let's come up onto our feet. Turn to one side of the mat. Take your feet wide. This is our Prasarita Padottanasana. A little bit more hamstrings here. Try to lift the hips up high. Take a big breath in. Exhale, dive the heart space forward. Maybe a little shift side to side feels good here. Try turn the toes in and the heels slightly out. And shift the weight a little bit more into the toes. Notice that how that might change the feeling, the sensation of this asana here. And then when you're ready, maybe just bring the hands out in front of you to support. You can start to wiggle your feet out towards the sides of the mat. Okay, remember, it's important that you feel like you can breathe. If you can't breathe, you've gone a little bit too far. And just like our Bakasana, can you zip the belly button in? If you transfer the hips a little bit more forward, it's going to give you a bit more support. The more that you transfer them back, the deeper the stretch is going to be. Keep the toes facing forward, knees facing forward generally. This is our middle splits position. We'll stay here for about 3 to 5 more breaths. Deep breaths. Try not to rush this. Oh, I am shaking. This feels very unnatural. This is going to be a fun way to get out. When you feel ready, just walk your feet in. Ooh. Bring your knees down. Find a neutral position. Notice how that felt for the body. Now you might again stay in your Vajrasana. If you wanted to find your Virasana, your hero's pose, we'll offer that. We'll do that one more time, just to counter pose. So feet come a little bit wider. Alternatively, you can do this one leg at a time with one leg forward, one leg back. Maybe you shift back onto your elbows, finding that tuck of the pelvis. Maybe coming onto elbows, or maybe finding that full extension down. So some people might, wonder whether the front splits or the side splits are a little bit more challenging. Just when you're ready, you're more than welcome to come up. So if you think about your knee and your hip joint, if you try pull your knee up towards you, that's going to be a lot easier than kind of taking the knee out towards the side when it's internally rotated or neutrally rotated. Usually when we take the knee out wide, it's externally rotated. And if you have no idea what I'm talking about, that's okay. Basically what I'm trying to say is that the splits, front and back, straight splits, tend to be a little bit easier compared to the middle splits, which are very focused on the adductors, and our legs, our femurs are not very used to taking the femurs out while internally rotated, so it can be very difficult for us. We'll finish with the forward bend. Take both of the feet out long in front of you. Big breath in, draw the toes back. Exhale, fold yourself over your legs, tucking the chin in. I mean, it's a lot of jargon, a lot of just words. The most important thing to know or notice is how it feels in your body. Knowing those boundaries of when to stop, when to slow down, when to back out, when you may have a little bit more in you. You can take about 3 more breaths here. Can you breathe in, maybe puffing up, lifting up through the upper back a bit more. Exhaling, maybe drawing the belly button a little bit further along the legs, tucking the chin in. 1 more breath, inhale. Exhale. Let's walk ourselves back. I thank you so much for practicing with me. I hope you had some fun. Maybe you learned a little bit more about your body and how it feels going into positions like that. Anyway, if you've got any requests about any other movements, any other asanas that you would like to explore, let me know. I would love to hear them. Otherwise, thank you so much. From me to you, namaste. If you like that video, let me know in the comments below. Feel free to like, subscribe. I would love to hear from you. And if you wanted to check out some of our longer videos, we've got our Patreon account down below, which we upload, some longer videos too, as well as some behind the scenes content of what it's like to be me. So interesting. All right, I'll see you next time.